No, yeah, definitely. As I said, like I sold the dream, so I was excited to be a part of the group. I had like unreal crowd, unreal stadium, especially in the champ. To have such a crazy amount of people that attend games, and and also that there's um, a good basis with coaches and players and relationships. I spoke to Mike about it as well, and I want to contribute where I can in the game. And knowing that Bedford's also an attacking based team that love to attack. I just want to contribute by carrying the ball, being a hard ball crash center, and bring my defensive aspects where I can. So I'm really keen, to meet all the boys and all the coaches and everyone in person and see where we can go along with the team and take it as far as we can.
Speaking very highly about the club there in that answer, if you could hone it down into one thing, what was the one thing that talk about sell the dream? What was the one key aspect that made the difference between you choosing Bedford as your next destination next season?
Oh, it's hard. It's hard to sum it up, into one thing. I think it's three aspects I could probably say. I know it won't be one thing, but I think one is just the grounds and the stadium. That's for development and stuff. It's itself like a gym and a good rugby pitch and a good stadium. Two is just the crowd, the people that attend. And I think three, the coaches and why I got sold was, I said I'm someone that I'm quite big into relationships, with coaches and other rugby players. And I think, you play your best rugby when you feel back, don't you? So if you feel back by coaching staff and back by the players, you're gonna play some of the best rugby you possibly can. Because you're not going to be scared to make mistakes and make faults. And obviously, you're going to have to make mistakes. It's part of the game. You got to learn. But for me, at a young age, it's just um, hearing, or knowing about a lot of ex-pro players that have been a part of Bedford when they were about my age, and look where they are now. So that's very promising, and I think that really speaks for itself.
Do you know anyone before you come to Golden Like it because Bath and Bedford don't have too much of a connection. A couple of the coaches at Bath had played for Bedford, but in terms of the current crop, it's not too
No,
much
not
similarity.
all, not all to be fair, but like when I was younger, I knew a player or two players. Who was it now? He's a Glasgow, I think he's a Glasgow now or something. There's a lot of boys that obviously played at Bedford and they went out to play rugby. But when I spoke with Mike and stuff, I was at Taunton on loan just for a few games, and he knew the head coach Yappy over there, and he spoke very highly about him. And I think, it just felt right, like just the video call we had and the conversation we had, it just felt right. And I think for my age, for development, that place is probably the best place to be, as I've heard reputation. So, this the decision to be at Bedford was solely off a right feeling. So hopefully it's a good feeling. We'll have to see.
I'm sure you can imagine from being in a Premiership environment coming into a Championship environment. It's fair to say rugby's in a difficult place at the moment, potentially in England. It's nice to hear a player speak so positively about moving into the Championship. I think you've only played one game in this league in your career so far, but you speak so highly about the Championship and that development pathway. It's something the RFU don't agree with
Yeah.
necessarily. But quite clearly, you see the Championship ground as that breeding ground, as that chance to show your potential.
Yeah, no, definitely. You could debate and have controversial conversations about this. I think everyone's got their own opinion, but um, there are so many rugby players in the country itself. And at my age, I'm 20, just turned 21. And like I said earlier, there's like a very small outline of young lads that are going to be playing games in, games out in the Prem. And for the utmost development of a player, you need to play rugby. You're not playing rugby in a gym, and you're not playing rugby by doing non-23 sessions or trying to stay fit. Obviously, you need to be fit when you get your opportunity because that only comes once, and then if you mess up, you mess up, and that reputation sticks for almost forever. Um, so so with the champ, it's brilliant for boys to make those errors, to make those mistakes. But we all know there's also a lot of older lads in the champ that have the expertise and have the experience that's gonna lift the standard of the game higher. And like I'm a very competitive person, and the championship can be very competitive, and it can also push a lot of Prem clubs. Look at France with their top 14 in the Division Two. Like there are teams that fall in and out because of relegation every year, and some of those teams have done bloody excellent in the top 14. So once you get to that competitive stage, it uplifts the whole grassroots of the game, not just champ, but the Prem has one probably, Nat 1, Nat 2, and just triples down. So it is interesting. Rugby at the moment. When I was younger, I mean, I was very like younger. I'm still young, but like a few years ago, but I remember the Prem being like the be all and end all of rugby. ULC wasn't much of a thing back then. The Gala Guinness or whatever it was, the Premiership rugby was massive. And I know it's a shame, isn't it? And I know I'm not the only boy in this situation that's looking for clubs, and thank God I got this opportunity, because I know there's hundreds of boys out there after the three clubs that fell down they're wishing they could be in my position. So it is a big shame, but once things start set out after this year or 2 years, I think the championship has potential to be very, very competitive and push some of the Prem teams, but only time will tell.
You talk about pushing those Prem teams. You join us from Bath, which I'm sure we'll speak about in a little while. You come into a Bedford side that will be involved in the Premiership Cup next season. You'll have the chance to play, obviously, a lot of championship games, but against Premiership opposition as well. I guess that's exactly what you're saying, the chance to prove how important this league is. If we go and stun Bath, for example, the kind of stories write themselves, don't they? If the
Yeah,
champ can provoke those results.
I think what also sold me massively, was this year's, championship teams being involved in the Prem Cup. I think that was one of the biggest things, because you're not just playing champ teams now, you're playing some of the academy boys in the Prem. So like I've been around now. I've been to Edinburgh. I signed for Edinburgh straight off school. I think I was one of the youngest boys, in the history to sign a professional contract with Edinburgh from South Africa. Signed the contract when I was 17 years old. Moved straight after school. I was in elite pro environment. I was with, which Edinburgh holds probably at the time most of the Scottish internationals. So I was around professionalism, ever since a young age. And obviously moving down to Bath and being a professional setup. I just don't think I ever got the opportunity. And obviously injuries and things like that don't play a big role. But I'm excited now, because I think this is finally my time to show for myself, what I'm capable of. If I'm backed and I get consecutive game time, because at the end of the day, I need game time, and you can only get better by playing rugby. And I'm just really excited to see where this goes, and be a part of the team, and build good friendship, build good relationships with everyone, and have a successful year.
We were speaking off camera about your last season, difficult with injury. I guess that only motivates the fire even more, that you didn't get that much game time last season, fully fit now, and coming into a group that you can really pull up trees with, I guess.
No, definitely. Like obviously I had the back operation. Just literally just joining Bath after I moved down from Edinburgh, which was like the most random injury possible, but turned out to be a very very long time in rehab. And obviously since I've come back from the operation and come back with all the problems I had, I've played almost 6-7 games later, and being on loan after operation. So from last year December, I played 6-5 games at Taunton, and by the fourth fifth game, I was absolutely flying. So I'm now excited to be injury free and just play rugby, and I get a good preseason under my belt. Put myself in the best position possible. To be selected and to play good rugby. And prove to myself and prove to everyone that like I'm capable of a lot more than a lot of people think. Um, I'm buzzing. I'm buzzing. I'm really excited.
And in terms of your position, I don't want to put you under too much pressure in terms of your research for Bedford, but you join a centre sort of union here at Bedford that includes the player defence coach in Michael LeBourgeois, seasons long veteran. Jamie Elliott's played 150 games in Northampton before he joins. You're actually in a very privileged position. You're not in a position where you join similar players of your own age. You're here with experienced professionals in in your position that can both aid you on the field, but aid you off the field as well.
No, no, definitely. I think that's the exciting part. It's not just better my rugby and better my style of player and find what I'm good at and find what I'm not. But for players like that, just aid and help me, in decisions I make. And that's just going to be a big beneficial factor. So hopefully I can create good relationships with them as well, and have a good off and on field chemistry, but also to learn from them. And I think the biggest thing, the biggest, or someone told me a very valuable lesson, and I think I was like, just be a sponge, just absorb, absorb, absorb. Just absorb as much as you can. Because sometimes, oh, I used to be like this when I speak too much, and then you realize, what? Like sometimes, if you just listen for once, you actually learn a lot more than you realize. And at our age, probably you need to, and that's it's not even an age thing. You just need to be a sponge. Whatever you can take, whatever you can learn, will only aid you to be a better person, a better player. So I think going in, I'm just going to be like a sponge, just absorb information, really.
And you join a Bedford squad that finished fourth last season. We'll obviously be looking to improve on that if we can, or stay consistent, or that kind of thing. We were the best part-time professional team in the league. We finished above high professional. I'm sure you know all this before I say it.
Yeah.
How do you think the club can progress even further? We've kept a lot of continuity, 17 players, 6 new faces. There's obviously going to be transition within that. How do you think we as the club improve on last season?
I think it's just, when you get experience in a team, I think you or whoever plays that position, or as the culture grows with the expertise of players that come in, you almost learn or you adapt to finish off fine margin games. So and at the end of the day, it's winning matches, isn't it? That brings you above and bonus points and points differences. But I think when you bring in a bit of expertise and you bring in boys that have played high level rugby and have been in positions, where where certain games count, um, that will be the big breaking point, I think. And I think once you get a good development of leadership group of boys, and you get boys in the middle and you get boys in the starter, and you just trickle that down with the culture and and the conversations that you're gonna feed off from these boys, the expertise, and these boys that played some of these high profile matches. I think that's what you need. And obviously you need it's all in good while having a few players that play unwell, or no, like exceptionally good rugby, but it's 15 boys in the field at the end of the day. 23 if you include the substitutes as well. But you can't just count on a few people to bring the game over for you. And once the culture gets positive like that, and you have your perfect crop and group of players, everything will just run smoothly. It obviously isn't as easy as it is, but that is what you look for. And I think once we adapt and we have a perfect group like that, I think we will fly. We'll fly very well. And I think most important now is for us to gel in this preseason and understand. Everyone's different. Everyone passes differently, has different ways of understanding the game, of handling the game. So if we all get on the same page, egos aside and things aside, I think we're gonna upset a lot of teams, and I'm excited for that. And it's just trying to also get the same belief in everyone else. Like I'm competitive by heart, competitive by nature, and I'm not here to mess around. Like I'm here to win games and win something. And and that competitive side of me can be very driven. So we have to see what happens, and I'm just excited to be part of the team and play some rugby with the group and have a good time.
You've spoken about the crowd quite a lot during this interview. It's the same way I always end for new faces that arrive at Bedford. Final question will always be, do you have a special message for the supporters going into the 2023-24 campaign?
Special message. You know what? I guess I'd say hang on. It's a work in progress. Rome wasn't built in a day. So if things don't go well as they should be in the first few matches, just know that I think we have a plan and we have something good coming. Um, and I think they should be excited for what's going to come this season because the boys are involved and the boys that come in and everything else. It just all sounds really positive for me. But at the end of the day, the work is shown on the field, in talks and stuff. So I mean, they should be buzzing. They should be excited for what's coming. So we just got to wait and see.
Well, Jordan, it's great to have you here at Goldenton Road. I'm sure we'll be catching up a lot during the season. Best of luck for the new campaign, and we'll see you for pre-season in a couple of weeks' time.
Cheers. Catch you soon. Thank you very much.